Thanks for joining us for our Week 17 NFL review here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. Myself, Byron, and Joe are here to break down all the action from Week 17. We had a few more things confirmed, a few more postseason berths, the number one draft pick thrown in the air as well, and some teams had their playoff hopes extinguished in the penultimate week. Joe, Byron, how are you both doing? Ready to rifle through everything that took place in Week 17?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what day of the week it is, but I mean, football's on and soccer's on. So I mean, it could be Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think it's Monday. Um, we have one game to go, so I think that's Monday. Yeah, feels like we've kind of hit week 18 a week early. Not too much left to play for, but yeah, we'll cover everything that is being decided so far, certainly.
Yeah, only a couple of things left to decide, I think. So the AFC North, the last AFC wildcard slot, and the NFC North as well. Those are the NFC North and the NFC number one seed as well, which come hand in hand, and of course the NFC South. So four things to sort out, I guess, as well in Week 18. But we're going to start with, I guess, one of those pictures for the first game that we're going to do a deep dive on, and that's the AFC wildcard race, that number 7 seed in the AFC, which has been opened up a little bit as a result of the Bengals beating the Denver Broncos on Saturday night in overtime. What a game this was. The Bengals won 30-24. Joe Burrow does it again. Another 3-touchdown game, this time over 400 yards. Bo Nix did his bit as well, certainly, as did Marvin Mims. We'll get to him later. But what's kind of your initial thoughts on the Bengals staying alive here by beating the Broncos?
Lucky boys is my thought on it. Once again, Joe Burrow does everything Joe Burrow needs to do, really. I mean, other than was scoring the touchdown wise right at the end there, you know, does game state say you hold it off a little bit and run the clock down a bit more?
I thought the plan, should have been to make them use the timeout, get to 40 seconds.
Yeah.
I still tried to score the touchdown.
Yeah.
But I think you'd either make them use burn the timeout.
Yeah. Only thing I would disagree on with that is because it was 1:31 to go or 1:29 to go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kneel, Denver takes timeout. Then what are you going to do then? Are you going to trying to rush when Chase has just gone out, Chase Brown, or is Joe Burrow going to throw? So you hope if Burrow throws, Van Davidozi, but you're still at the same time, but Denver doesn't have a timeout. But if he doesn't hit, then you're going to kick a field goal, and they're going to have 20 odd, and Denver's got no timeouts, and they can get the touchdown to win. So I was in the mind, just get the points. Bo Nix, had played well in the half, but just threw an interception. So you just hope, that the defense can stop him. But obviously, what happened. But at least he went to overtime and they ended up getting the win. I didn't mind it, to be honest. Like, you've got to take the points when you can, when your back's just gone down. Because if the alternative was you just kneel down twice, then you go up 3 points and there's 50 seconds left. But you've got a defense which can't, stop anyone unless it's overtime. So I didn't mind it that much.
Yeah, I mean, this was a microcosm of the Bengals season, wasn't it? This game we had, into overtime, and Cade York, the replacement kicker, I guess it was Evan McPherson's out injured, had a 33-yard, field goal. That's just an extra point to win the game. Smashes it against the post, doinks it. And then we got to a situation where Denver were playing for a tie to get into the playoffs at that point, because all they needed was a first down, really. And that would have got a tie, would have got them into the postseason, which is just a crazy situation. And so much so that
I was going to say, do you think because they only needed a tie that actually didn't help them, because they went so conservative in terms of what they did? Like, it was all like in the flat. They didn't want to give it away, and they just thought, let's try and sneak this first down. Where it feels like all they get, like, well, especially after halftime, Bo Nix was just like hitting big plays. So why not just like win it rather than? It feels like even the one before, because obviously the Bengals even went 5, like they punted to start with, which is like crazy that they punted. They managed to stop the Broncos finally, punted back, then missed the field goal. And then, the Broncos was there just to win it. But they just, went way too conservative just to thinking about that tie and taking to next week. So I think it didn't help them that bit.
I can't remember the last time I've seen one of these overtime games that had 5 possessions in it. Like these 10-minute overtime windows that we get now. But yeah, I mean, so much obviously after KD York missed the 33-yard field goal. Once the Bengals made the huge play to T. Higgins down the sideline and got it to the 3-yard line, I think 31 other teams kick that from there. Bengals don't. They give it to Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins has the walk-off touchdown. Joe, you cashed a huge bet in this one. T. Higgins 2+ touchdowns at 10-1. You shouted out on the preview with a great explanation as to why. Yes, Satan did really not shut down, but he slowed down Chase. That's probably a fairer way to describe it. And T. Higgins had Riley Moss trailing most of the day, and T. Higgins took advantage of that. The best number 2 in the business against a very good number 2 cornerback. But T. Higgins prevailed in that battle all day long with 11 receptions, 3 touchdowns, and 131 yards, including the walk-off winner we just talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's funny that slowing Chase down is still getting 102 yards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was a bit worried because obviously Higgins was questionable coming in. But yeah, I just think with Riley Moss coming off a knee injury, and it sounded like a week 2 ago that it could have been more serious than it was. So I was a bit unsure how he was going to play a rookie against a savvy, like you said, the best number 2. And also, like, he looked like he went out a few plays and he didn't look 100%. So yeah, he took advantage, and yeah, the Bengals did what the Bengals do, and it was a huge game for Higgins. You know who I think? It's hard to say Higgins is best, but I think Mike Gesicki deserves a big shout out. He had so many big catches, and he was just like, it felt like when it was he got 10 catches for 86, but it felt like he made so many more big plays. Obviously, in overtime, he had the huge to get the first down where he just rumbled past a few players, and I think he was just massive. And getting him involved is huge for this Bengals team because he just gives them another option and goes into next week where they should beat the Browns. Obviously, it doesn't help with Chase Brown going down with that. Have they got the Browns? Oh, no, they've got Steelers. Sorry. They got the Steelers, yes. With Chase Brown going down, doesn't really, like, he's been playing really well the last few weeks. So it was such a weird, like, trying to slide and then fucking up his ankle by doing that when he could have just ran in for the touchdown. But, he did the right thing. Just, you don't want to see some getting injured. But yeah, huge game around. And yeah, happy 10-1 cash with Higgins, and it would be nice if I went for 3 touchdowns and all because it would have been a lot more. But hey ho, you can't complain.
You can't have it all, Joe. 10-1 cash, take it. It's a great bet. Well done. Byron, you're on -3.5 Bengals, so very glad that that ball was put in Joe Burrow's hand at the end there and not KD York's foot again to kick it. But a nice cash. It was a nice win there. And I was on the over, so a pretty successful Saturday evening game there for us, over 50. Let's just quickly talk about these scenarios because I will get into it more in the preview. But the way the games are staggered is for these two is the Bengals play first on Saturday night against the Steelers. So the Bengals have to win. Bengals have to win and put the pressure on the Broncos against. Geez, I kind of feel like I don't know if the Broncos have got the shitty end of this in terms of they might not have to do, not necessarily to do it, not have to do anything because you've still got the Dolphins lurking, but you've got the Bengals playing, and then, if they lose, that's one done. Broncos still need to win maybe on the Sunday, but then you've got the Steelers and Ravens side of it as well. Feels like it's probably the best way they could have scheduled this game. What do we make of the Bengals' chances, or do we think the Broncos are just going to get the job done against probably the Chiefs' second team?
I mean, you'd have to fancy them to beat Carson Wentz Chiefs, surely. Because I presume the Chiefs won't just rest Mahomes. I think there'll be
a lot of players.
I'd expect it to be a good amount of resting, yeah. So it's one of them where ultimately, if you can't beat the Chiefs' backups, do you deserve a playoff spot? And the Bengals have a tough time, playing Pittsburgh, who, it's, I don't know if it's must win for the Steelers, but it would improve their standing. They get a home game, potentially, if they win. Although, actually, the Ravens play first.
Depends what the Ravens happens with the Ravens.
That should be the first game Saturday, Steelers-Bengals.
Yeah.
But I also think with the Steelers, they have to win because, well, if they win, they get the Texans, and you'd rather have the Texans right now. If they lose, they'll go down, and Chargers win, they'll go down to the 16 and they'll play the Ravens. So, as a Steelers fan, you probably want to play the Texans right now just with how they're playing and how they're injured. So they need obviously momentum to go into the playoffs because it has 2 or 3 disastrous games really. So I think the Bengals have got the short straw where they're playing a team who is looking also to win and playing all the starters while the Chiefs. So the Broncos are playing the Chiefs, who are probably going to rest quite a few players. But I also think the bigger issue is the Dolphins are playing the Jets, and the Jets starters have been playing disastrous. So if they decide to rest a few players, if some players don't just not playing me today, against the Dolphins, then that's the big issue as well. That even if the Broncos lose, I don't see the Dolphins losing to the Jets.
No, me neither, truthfully. Unless Tyrod gets a start, then they might be in play. But I don't think the Rodgers Jets are beating much of anyone, truthfully.
So Bengals finally back to 500, 8-8, and the Broncos 9-7.
So do you know that was the first time the Bengals have beat a team above 500?
Yes.
Which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
which shows that why they're not in the playoff picture and why ultimately, if they don't make the playoffs, that's a big reason why. But yeah, if you can't be a team above 500, it's nuts.
It's staggering to look at the season. There's other teams as well, but if the Bengals had just beat the Patriots week 1, who right now the Patriots have the number 1 pick, I believe, right?
Right now they do, yeah.
As things stand.
If
the Bengals had won that game, they'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Same for, if Seattle had beat the Giants, or if a team playing this week had beat the Giants, they'd be not in the playoffs, but like you said, beat the Ravens with a kick. It's so many of these teams who lose to very poor teams, not the Ravens one, obviously, but Cincinnati put themselves on such a shitty stick, essentially, 3 games into the season, that to even be alive in week 18 is...
Yeah, from where they were, for sure.
Incredible by Joe Burrow, and he extends his 250-3 streak. But
8 in a row, isn't it?
Looks like they've just left themselves 1 week too many.
Quick one, I think I mentioned this in our chat. If they sneak in, Joe Burrow for MVP, or is he too much? Is that Lamar and just Josh Allen just simply that far ahead?
I think they are, but I mean, he's 30-1 for a reason.
30-1.
It's not. I think that's a fair price. I don't think he should be 100-1, but I don't think I'd bet it, because I just think it's he's got to get in the playoffs minimum. I'm not sure that he's going to. I don't think he's going to, truthfully.
4,600 yards, 42 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
Yeah, incredible.
Through 16.
It's one of them where, it's really harsh because, presumably Barkley's going to win Offensive Player of the Year, and that means Chase and Burrow won't, obviously. And it just feels harsh that there's no recognition for just standout statistical seasons. Chase is probably going to get the triple crown.
Yeah.
Burrow has been incredible. There's no other way to put it. And at the end of it, what's it going to be? 9-8 season, no playoffs.
Yeah. And just a quick shout out for your boy Byron Marvin Mims. Probably a league, from a fantasy perspective, he's a league winner. He's going to have won me our fantasy league. I think so. I had to make some sort of panic move to get rid of CD Lamb because he was ruled out on Friday, late Thursday or Friday. Took a gamble on Marvin Mims. 8 receptions, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 2 incredible touchdown throws from Bo Nix, because one was just a bit of a panic and hoist it up, but incredible grab in between not 1 but 2 Bengals players all over him, defenders, and the other one just a beautiful play action pass. But we talk about it's fun for I think the Broncos could be fun in the playoffs. We mentioned that we want Bengals in because the Bengals will be fun and they'll give us cast. I think the Broncos could give us one fun game in the playoffs.
I think they deserve it.
Yeah,
out of 3. I think that defense has looked incredible. I think Barry mentioned that. They've got a lot of no names and they're just constantly putting Burrows under pressure. And they had
attacks. It was,
yeah. It was a great game for them, and I'd prefer them over the Dolphins any day.
Yes.
And I'm curious, it's that weird thing that if the Bengals get in, they'll be playing the Bills. But I really want the Bills to win this year, so I don't know if I want the Bengals in just because I think that's the biggest threat. But either way, I think if either of them 2 teams, I think it's going to be a good game against the Bills. Just don't want the Dolphins in. I think that'll be the worst outcome.
Yeah,
of all the
that's a
points.
30-12.
Yeah.
You know,
Tyler Huntley
Tua
possibly as
shits
well.
himself, and Mike
God
McDaniel
knows.
forgets how to call a play.
Well, let's move on to the team that the I suppose the odd team out now in that AFC wildcard mix, because they were certainly the best placed team, weren't they, to capitalize on a Broncos loss. And surprise, surprise, the Indianapolis Colts didn't. They lost 45-33 against the New York Giants. Drew Lock had a career day. Responsible for 5 touchdowns, 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. I mean, let's start with the Colts side of it, because there's a little bit to talk about in terms of the Giants for this. But they went with Flacco, Andy Richardson injured, and even Flacco couldn't provide kind of a spark. Obviously, they moved the ball a lot more through the air than they had been doing with Richardson. A couple of turnovers, but defensively, the Colts were just an absolute mess.
Absolutely embarrassing. Drew Lock, I remember midway through the season, maybe early in the season, I described him as like Poundland Baker Mayfield, and I stand by it because that's kind of how I feel he plays. But like, goodness me, yesterday he was like platinum card Baker Mayfield. He would just—it's the best analytical game a Giants quarterback has ever played in the next gen stats era, which I know, it's Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, a lot of no names other than that, but he was fantastic. Malik Neighbors, I don't know who you say is the rookie wide receiver one. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors. I mean, you spoiled for choice of the two of them. I don't know how, you're a college boy. I don't know how LSU didn't win anything last year with Jaden Daniels in there as well.
I'm a college boy.
Like, I literally don't know how you don't, like, how many more players do you need? You got
the LSU defense was just terrible. That was the problem. So
it must have been.
Yeah,
Jesus. They have me, you, and Joe out there. I mean, come on. Like, like those 3 players would be a good start to an NFL team. Anyway, yeah, sorry. Malik Neighbors incredible. Tyron Tracy, I think they're the first 2 rookies to get 1,000 in X amount of years. I forget who the last 2 were, annoyingly. I did see it yesterday, but I forgot. Just really impressive. Good for the Giants players. Bad for the Giants' future, because they're now gone from 1 to 4, I believe.
They've dropped from 1 to 4, and there's not that even if they get beat in week 18, there's not really that much scope for them to move too far back up. So they're in a bit of
3 wins essentially for the
which isn't really going to happen. So they kind of screwed themselves a little bit because they had that number 1 pick and have had it for I think for the last 5 weeks they've been in that slot for the number 1 pick.
Well, I think what they've done is they've done the Cam Ward of like, it's getting close. Actually, we'll step out here. So I was looking for the stat that I was while I was blabbering there. Drew Lock's yesterday. So EPA, expected points added per play, yesterday was 1.18 per play. It's a 6th best of any quarterback since 1999. Of any quarterback. So Peyton Manning versus Baltimore in 2007 was the top one. You've got Phillip Rivers in there, Lamar Jackson, Peyton Manning against Tom Brady, and Drew Lock against the Indianapolis Colts week 17 to lose the first overall pick. I absolutely love it.
One of these things is not like the others.
Very much not like the others, yeah. Like I said, Platinum Card Baker Mayfield was out to shine yesterday. Like I said, good for the Giants players because, they don't have good days very often.
And I would say, was it 2 years ago we sat here, but everyone was talking like, well, the Texans have just lost the first pick, woe is them, and then they end up with CJ Stroud. Obviously, he's not played but that worked out for them, and obviously the Patriots, I think, got the first pick. They're not picking the QB. Titans are, God knows, with the Browns, he still might get the second best quarterback. Because can you imagine if the Browns get draft a quarterback?
I think the worry would be that somebody jumps up and trades with the Patriots, and then the Giants might have to do that if they want their guy, and then all of a sudden this win has cost them X amount of draft picks that they really need. So that's all. We'll get into that, I suppose, in the offseason. But just a quick shout out, I think probably those 2 names had a huge day, didn't they? 7 for 171, 2 touchdowns. that shouldn't have been 7-for-1, 7-for-2. Both those touchdowns, he should have been tackled multiple times by Colts players to stop them. And these are just the key things in these games that the Colts just didn't get right and haven't got right all year long.
Yeah.
I think there was times when there were two Colts players there to tackle Neighbors, and he just kind of blitzed through arm tackles. And McAfee went off. I don't know if you've seen his posts just around kind of obviously.
He's been waiting for it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has been, and he obviously punter, all decade punter, and huge part of the Colts for a long period of time. But he's in there. He obviously lives in Indianapolis. He goes to the games, and he just sounded off just about kind of the culture, citing a few key points in the seasons. Obviously he's must got to have people on the inside letting him know what's going on. People not turning up for meetings late, not going for treatment on time. Referred to Anthony Richardson tapping out of the game a few weeks ago because he were a bit tired that we talked about. All those things is kind of the culture and what's wrong, and that kind of he knew this was going to happen. And you know what? You probably got stupidly bet on the Colts and should have known better in this situation. I just kind of thought the Giants were done. But to concede 45 points to this New York Giants team is something. I know, again, not to get into too much detail because we've got other games to talk about, but do the Colts clean house here? Because this is one of those things. This is a Shane Steichen get you fired kind of game. Chris Ballard should be done as GM. Do you think Irsay is just going to get the brush out?
Yeah, obviously you can't really say what Irsay is going to do. He could do anything, to be honest. If it was me, I think I would keep Steichen. I think he's done a good enough job on the offense wise. Like the squad is just not good enough. I think Ballard should be gone. I just think he's not done well enough to get a squad around. I think Richardson's made a bit of progress the last few games. He's looked better. So I would give it another year with Steichen. You can clean house with defensive coordinator. You can, do the typical, we've got a new DC this year, and next year it's everything's fine. It was their fault. So I think they'll do that. Get rid of the GM. Maybe see how Steichen goes next year with Richardson. Because what you don't want to do is get another offensive coordinator in there or head coach, and then Richardson takes a step back. It's all about next year is probably assessing, is Richardson the man going forward? Can he stay fit? Where you going? And I think Steicher's the best man for that because he's still done well with the quarterbacks he's had, but obviously they need to change something. But I'm also, I didn't mind them losing this because, again, a team I don't want to see in the playoffs because it would just be a terrible 7th seed again who gets blown out. I'd rather have a competitive team like we mentioned, like the Broncos or Bengals. So even though I did that on the Colts, I was a bit happy that, okay, Colts are out of our lives now and move on to keep the good teams in.
Your duo, I've got the answer to your question as well, Byron. The previous duo to do rookie 1,000 yards, rushing and receiving, it was Reggie Bush and Marquez Colston of the Saints in 2006.
Well, a good while ago. It feels wide. It's been so long.
Yeah, a while ago for sure. One plus for the Colts, and in particular Anthony Richardson. I assume he's probably not going to play next week if he was banged up and injured this week. He's off breaking Tebow's completion percentage record, and not in a good way. He was very close. That 7 from 11 last week actually probably helped him out a little bit, but I suspect if he played this week, he'd have had a stinker as well. So yeah, he's off to that Tebow record watch for I think it was something like Tebow was like 46 point something completion percentage, and Richardson's 47 point something. So yeah, almost the worst completion percentage in the NFL season, but not quite. Giants 3-13 in that 4th pick for the draft now, and Colts 7-9. Season done there, out of the race. NFC North will go there next. Packers Vikings. This one looked like it was going to be a blowout for a while until the Packers kind of found some life towards the end of the 3rd quarter and almost came all the way back. Vikings 27, Packers 25. Vikings get to 14 wins. 14-2 on the season. Packers at 11-5, and are now in the 7th seed. Commanders have leapt over them. What do we make of this one? I thought, again, Vikings so impressive again. Darnold had a phenomenal game. Joe, you picked Darnold out for our Fantasy Game Day tips. Just another kind of just one mistake, really, wasn't it? The interception, but just a fully assured performance. I thought from the Vikings again, even though they were sort of holding on at the end.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I thought the Vikings were really good. Green Bay, I thought, obviously the scoreline and how the scoring went kind of indicated I thought it took so long to get going. I was really disappointed in Green Bay. I thought this would be a real good back and forth game. I had like 120-1 bet of there being like each team having a rushing and passing TD in each half, which I don't think was too wild. I thought 120 was quite long for it in what I expected the game to be. And I am a little relieved because I was torn between two kind of wild long bets. Was either quarterback to have 400 or more passing yards, and Donald came 377. So I'm really glad I didn't place that because that would have been super frustrating. Because I thought he was going to clear it, not easily, but like somewhat easily, the way he was going. But yeah, I mean, what credit to the Vikings again. And you see Darnold in the locker room after the game, I'm sure, getting doused and looking like Rudy, let's be fair. It was incredible scenes. See what the future comes. Still might not win the division. Obviously, all going to come down to week 18, Lions, Vikings. But what a credit to Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, truthfully, for how they've put this, well, not put this team together, but like how they've coached this team up. Quiet game from Aaron Jones yesterday, but it doesn't really matter when Sam Darnold's going for nearly 400 and 3 touchdowns. Just so much to love about this team. Jalen Naylor going off, it's been a while since he's had a big game. With Addison coming back and Hawkinson coming back, but it was nice seeing Naylor get his, flowers again, got another touchdown. And yeah, I was lower than anybody on the Vikings coming into the season. And I'm very happy to be eating my words so much because they're just a really fun team to watch. And I don't envy the decision they've got to make with Sam Darnold coming up because
Weirdly, I don't think it is a massive one. Weirdly, I don't think it's a massive one. I think you've got JJ McCarthy coming back off a huge injury on a rookie contract. Keep Sam Darnold. So whether it means a 2 or 3 year deal or you just tag him,
I think that's the easy decision is just to tag him. And if somebody wants to come and blow your head off with a trade offer, I would very much consider it because I do think. Again, don't want to go too deep on this, in the regular season, but like, I still think he is Sam Darnold. Like, I wouldn't want to pay him $50 million a year because, like,
under a different coach. Like,
I was going to say, it feels like it's a O'Connell effect because we've seen what happens with Cousins. Like, I know he's coming off the injury and whatnot, but I could also see Cousins being in this squad. Maybe not playing as well, but having a good season as well. I wonder if it's one of them head coaches, offensive coordinators who make quarterbacks look really good. And then Sam Darnold goes to another team which is dysfunctional, doesn't have the coaches, and suddenly we're back to square one.
Hey, I mean, just for example, just because I think it's most likely, however it is, that'd be funny. But one pick after the Jets, say the Raiders give you pick 8 for the rights to Sam Darnold. The Vikings, I think, should A, rip the hand off, and B, Sam Darnold is going to look like a pumpkin in a year's time. Like, I just think that's how I think, and I don't want to be too disrespectful because, like, he's doing it, literally, but there's a hell of a body of work if he doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's a combination of all the facts. I think I'm particularly impressed with the Addison touchdown throw, just the play design, the route running, the play action to then Addison from coming in kind of a shallow short route to then just spinning around the back. Just phenomenal stuff. So such high level coaching, play calling, I think from the from O'Connell and the Vikings. So
I'm curious with the Vikings, they're like higher or lower odds, like their win line at the start of the year. How like are they near the record to like overachieving?
Because I was wondering about that too.
6.5, wasn't it?
Yeah, so now they're 14 plus against 15.
The 7 over it,
yeah. But on the flip side, you worried about like the Packers have lost now to the Eagles, the Vikings twice, the Lions twice, and they're the 3 big teams going into the playoffs.
I am worried now because they're potentially going to have to go to Philadelphia.
And my worry is they don't look that competitive. I know this is a 2-point game, so it feels weird saying it. They didn't look like they were 2 points short of this game.
It was a mix of Love was just under constant pressure. Yeah. I do think they massively missed Christian Watson, so they didn't really have someone to stretch the field. Yeah. Jaden Ream was a non-factor, as we know, as he was part of our Fantasy Gameday team. It was kind of Romeo Dobbs or nothing, in the passing game, and it came together a bit late just because they went kind of no huddle. Vikings got substitute in, so that's just kind of where it came apart a little bit for the Vikings defensively. Sorry.
It's always been
yes.
like the Packers. It feels like only one wide receiver always like goes off. It's never like looking at the Vikings. Oh, Jefferson got a decent amount. He got the most. Addison got quite a few. Like Naylor, Hawkinson, they all got above 60, nearly 70. But it feels like the Green Bay, especially the wide receivers, it's like someone either goes off and everyone does nothing. It's like having Reed is in my fantasy team. Is either like leave him on his bench, you'll get 150 yards. Put him in and he gets like 9. It's so boom and bust with a lot of their receivers, which we always praise. We always praise the Packers being like, oh, they've got all these young wide receivers, but they're very boom and bust. While having someone like they said Jefferson, Addison, feels well, they're going to get 60 yards most of the time. So
this offense lives on explosive plays. It lives on 20-yard plus plays, and Vikings just didn't let him do that because Love didn't get time and they didn't have the deep threat to stretch the field and open things up. So I think that was that combination. You get Christian Watson back, it makes it a little bit different. But yeah, I'd be worried if they're looking like they're going to have to go. Gives us still week 18 to go, so they could flip again with the Commanders. Commanders play the Cowboys, and the Packers have the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Cowboys pull out a win and the Packers beat the Bears, then they're maybe on the road to the Rams, and that feels like a better matchup for the Packers than going to Philly does. So yeah, tough one for the Packers. I feel like they haven't had that. I don't know. Maybe I'm not misremembering, but I don't think they've had that kind of big signature win. Whereas like the Vikings have got loads of them, and potentially could have another one. Call it now for me: Vikings or Lions to be number 1 seed and win the North.
Or Lions.
I'm going to go Vikings.
I think
just with the injuries, I think Dan's going to have too much time against this Lions defense, and I think it's going to be close. That game is like obviously the number 1 game, and I think I might go over points.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football. Vikings are 2.5-point underdogs going to Detroit on Sunday Night Football next week. Over under 52. It's a big number, 52.5. Right, Commanders sealed their space in the playoffs. I thought they'd kind of pretty much done it last week, but just needed that one more win. Commanders 30-24 over the Falcons. The Falcons now need a favor next week from the Saints to beat the Bucs and them to take care of their own business against the Panthers to win the NFC South. Commanders are in 6 seed, as we just mentioned, as it stands. Took overtime though. Zach Ertz catching pass in OT, touchdown pass from Jay Daniels in OT. I watched this back just on the 40-minute version of it, so you don't always get the ebbs and flows of the game. But how the hell did the Falcons not win this game? And what the hell is Raheem Morris thinking he's doing with his timeouts? Why is he trying to carry them to next week?
Well, you get extra points next week if you have your timeouts, right?
At the end of both halves,
a job,
Yeah, he's ready to spend He's going to start his next job with 4.
Yeah, it's staggering. As someone who had the Falcons on his fourfold and bet the Falcons on the money line and was feeling pretty good at halftime. Although could have been feeling a little bit better again if Raheem Morris knew how to call a fucking game.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? Because that could have been 21-7 at halftime, and then
come back from.
And especially you need to make, you've got the rookie. It's only his second start. Trying to make things easy.
That's what my first thought was. I was seeing that clock ticking down from 36 to 22. I think it was. And I'm just this is his second start, Raheem. Do you want to maybe make it a bit fucking easy? You're really that worried about Washington Commanders going down the field with 27 seconds left as opposed to 13? It's not that big of a fucking concern, mate. Your defense is playing well. And you know what? If they get the ball with 27 seconds left, they'll play one snap. You probably won't go anywhere, and then they'll kneel. What are these defensive head coaches? What are they so fucking scared of? It's much more valuable for you to get an extra 4 points than it is the risk of giving up 7, because it's so unlikely. It is. And I'm not just annoyed so much about it because my fourfold got fucked because of it. It's every week I feel like we see this the Mike Tomlins of this world, Raheem Morris, Todd Bowles, these defensive head coaches who they just fucking play scared all the time. Just let your team go and fucking win, make good decisions. I seen a tweet about it today, and I don't have it up, so I don't know who it was, but it's you would honestly be better off having a kid who plays Madden do your time management.
I was
Because
just
these
about to
coaches,
say that. Yeah, like some of these coaches just hire someone, just you do the timeout and we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Because I think it's like Sean McVay and a few others who uh, um, do that as well. It's just surely you just hire someone just to sit up there to be like, take a timeout.
yep,
Yeah.
timeout.
Like an
do it.
expert, yeah.
And like again, like if we can see it, and like it's only 15 seconds, but it's like there's only 40 left. Do you know what I mean? That's like a third of the time you have remaining. And instead of like being able to now, you know, RPO, because Penix is a pretty nifty runner to Bijan or to, I know the direct snap to Bijan worked once, didn't work second time, but you've got the option if you've got fucking time to catch Washington off guard, as opposed to ding it in the end zone 3 times and hope for the best.
Yeah. Just self-inflicted wounds. I think that was the key all the way through. You mentioned there that the Falcons took a play right out of the Seattle Seahawks book, usually that we've seen this season at times, and snapped it right over Bijan's head. He was having to go chase it 20 yards, and that was from what? Was that from the 1 yard line? Was it?
I think
Yeah,
they still scored a touchdown though, didn't they?
They did, but it didn't help.
No, obviously.
Unless you're a Kyle Pitts owner. But if you're a Kyle Pitts fantasy manager in week 17, you probably don't have much to play for.
Yeah.
I don't think you would have championed the game if you were starting Kyle Pitts. No offense, Kyle.
Yeah, and this was a game to win. It was just like it was there for them. Like it had the first half. Obviously, Commanders came back really strong after half. Got a few touchdowns. They had another touchdown rule. Got a penalty. We should get a field goal. I thought at that point, okay, you know, the Falcons, you've just got away with it because that would have been 28-17. So you only did the 7 points. And I was curious, when they got the touchdown, because I've meant to mention this to the Broncos game. Wondered if they should have gone for 2 points. The Broncos and I didn't. I thought the Falcons shouldn't have gone.
The Broncos started to go for it. Yeah, they ran it out as if they were gonna.
Yeah. And I was wondering, and I was thinking the Falcons going to do the same, but I think there's too much time on the clock, and obviously it worked out perfectly. But like I said, it's the timeouts to the end because there's I think it is some defensive coaches or some conservative coaches where it's like, we'll just we'll make it to be a 50-yard field goal and we'll win it that way. And it's like obviously it's more automatic now. Kickers are a lot better, but why? Penix has played well all game. It's just led you down to a touchdown. Why not take them timeouts? Just to even get an extra 10 yards, because we saw with the field goal, it looked like he was straight dead on and the Falcons had won, but he didn't have the legs. And it's just like, take a few of them timeouts there, have a bit more time. Drake London Mooney is starting to dominate the Commanders' defensive backs. They got a few penalties, but they just waste so much time at the end where, they only got 4 plays. So they got the ball with 40 seconds to go, and they only had 4 plays and they started 2 timeouts. And it's just like, even if you take one of them, it doesn't work. You give them the Commanders, you're punting in, you're giving them 10 seconds to get from, in their own zone. It's just annoying. And it's just like when you see some head coaches like that, you're like, are you made for this role?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're seeing it's just like disappointing because now they're going to next week after a good. I was surprised how good Penix played and how good he looked with his second start, because I thought last week played Giants, who's been probably one of the worst teams this year. You're going against a team who's just had a massive win, and he played great. And it's just stupid decisions where you might miss out on the playoffs just by not taking a couple of timeouts, getting 10 or 20 more yards, and it's an easier field goal.
Feels like there's been a lot of these close games for the Falcons that they've just mismanaged and come out on the wrong side of. Any risk that Raheem Morris is one and done?
And they'll keep him because how Penix has played. I think how the season's ended, it's not been a disaster. I think they can just sweep Kirk Cousins out of the building and start again with Penix. I think it would be given another year.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be stunned, I guess, might be the best way of putting it. I'd be thinking very strongly about getting rid if I was Arthur Blank. I don't know what kind of owner he is, so he feels more of a patient one than a reactive one, though, I'll say. So I'd certainly be considering it for sure. And I just, unlike the Falcons and the game calling, in the first half, they were dominant on the ground. Bijan and Algier carried the ball 16 times for 101 yards in the first half. 13 of those 16 rushes were successful. Do you know how many carries they had in the second half combined? You're on mute, Paul, if you're going to have a vocal guess over the shaking head.
Well, they only got to 20, so 4?
Yeah, 4. Yeah. 4. Like, I know, to be fair, Washington ran the clock really well to start the second half, but you've got to get more than 4. Like, they're doing so well. Bijan especially. In that first half, I was genuinely thinking to myself, like, I'm not sure there's a more fun running back to watch. I'm like, well, you know what? Saquon Barkley is really fun to watch. Jameer Gibbs is really fun to watch. They might be the most free, fun to watch running backs in the league, unless I'm missing someone. But, like, just watching Bijan, like, in that first half, I was like, oh, he is such a fun player to watch. I wish he had, like, a real workload. I understand why he doesn't. Algie is really good. They work well in tandem together, etc., etc. But just Bijan hopping around in the backfield, and it's kind of like a combination of, like, Le'Veon Bell and, I don't know, just a really direct runner, like, in the best possible way. And like you said, get 4 combined attempts in the second half. Just like, what are you doing? Like, you don't need to be putting yourself in this situation. Very frustrating, anyway.
Yeah, onto the Commanders. So yeah, finally they did secure that spot in the postseason. There was one moment I was real scared for Jaden Daniels, and Joe, you just mentioned an RG3 thing in our chat. That I was like, oh shit, he's just been RG3'd where he blew his knee out, and he got just that awkward roll up on that he had, and he was bent all backwards. I thought he was done, and thankfully not. And he survived. But yeah, just Joe mentioned in our chat there, Jaden Daniels broke RG3's record for rushing yards for a rookie QB. He had 127 yards on the ground in this one. He was Washington's rushing attack. That's a problem. I think it's a problem if you are going to ask him to do that much in the postseason potentially, because take his 127 yards away. I think the Commanders ran for 89 yards between Brian Robinson, Rodriguez, Nichols. He's become a problem. That rushing game, I don't know if you can constantly rely on Jaden Daniels to do that, but obviously he's electric when he gets the ball, when he's got the ball in his hands.
Do you know what's nuts? I was surprised at that because I just remember like RG3 was like designed runs and it was like incredible, and it felt like he was obviously the main focus. But it feels like Jaden Daniels is just like scrambled a lot, and it's just been he's got 80 yards this week, he's got 60 yards. It hasn't felt the same rushing prowess as what RG3 is, but all fair play for breaking the record. Yeah.
Different ways to do it. And Zach Ertz, that was another one I was ready to go. So he caught 2 touchdowns in this one, including the walk-off in overtime. With his 6 grabs, his 6 catches, 72 yards and 2 touchdowns, all earned him 3 separate $250,000 incentive payments. So he made $750,000 for the season, of course, but as a direct result of kind of him getting to the milestones in this game. So he's now on 6. So he needed 60 catches. He's on 61, 600 yards. He's now 610 and 6 touchdowns. He got the 2 in the game, each for $250,000. So congrats. Not newly minted, because of course he's earned a lot of money, Zach Ertz, but that's just $750,000 coming your way. He's had a great season as well. Thinking about kind of Ertz as well, like
just in time for New Year's Eve to have a big party to celebrate the Commanders getting the playoffs.
And he had that one catch where, he must have had 20 yards after the catch. I didn't know Zach Ertz could run 20 yards in a row at this point in his career. Fair can play.
Unless he's chasing after Nick. Unless he's chasing after Nick Sirianni,
Yeah, it's his best. It's his best, most productive season since 2019, which was just 1 year removed from all the records he set. Most tight end receptions in the season. Back in 2018. So yeah, a heck of a season from Zach Ertz. Could be a factor in the playoffs as well. That's our 4th and final game to talk through. We're gonna have a chat through our 4-fold challenge. Some of us so close again to another 4-fold. Byron still waiting to break your duck, but did make up some ground on Joe. A little bit of ground, so it's made a potential hauling Joe in week 18 possible. So you don't have to do the 24-hour fast food challenge forfeit. We'll start with yours, Byron. Your 4-fold. Your favorite was the Miami Dolphins. This game was terrible. It was the game opposite, Vikings, Packers in the late window, 20-3. Anything more to say on this one?
Luckily, it didn't matter in the end, but I bet this on Saturday with everything going on, all the fuckhousery it feels like in week 17. I was like, I'm just going to bet before my first game, which was on Saturday evening, with the Rams Cardinals. So I got it at -3 because Tua was doubtful by that point and didn't play. Total dog shit game. DTR isn't an NFL quarterback. I'll put it that way, I guess. Like, he's close to unwatchable. You can't run an offense with him. So, whoever the Browns are playing next week, pick whoever they are playing because they just can't run an offense with him. So, nothing to say really. Miami did what they had to. Very poor game.
Still alive, got a shot in week 18. They need the Broncos to lose and a win, and they're in, which would be real sad. Tal Hunt had a fairly efficient game though, 22 of 26. But hopefully Tua's back next week. Yeah. Your under was Cardinals Rams. Bit of a stinker of a game, but kind of off the back of this, the Rams secured NFC West title on a strength of victory basis because they needed kind of 3 results to go their way on Sunday. They all 3 of so many results to go their way of teams that they've beaten, I guess, to go their way, so that we don't sadly have that NFC West decider, which would have been great for week 18 between the Rams and the Seahawks. But yeah, Rams win the division, 39 winners against the Cardinals. I guess kind of Puka Nacua was the star yet again.
Puka, and I will give a shout out to Trey McBride, who
I got
him and Brock Bowers and George Kittle, I will say, have been so far above whoever you're going to call tight end for, Jonnu Smith maybe, this season. Trey McBride I thought was magnificent again though. Like, never mind Marvin Harrison, he is the ticking beat of this. What is the Cardinals passing offense? I do worry about the Cardinals going into next year. Kyler Murray really needs to. He's a fun fantasy player. He scrambles around a bit and all that, but I just don't know if it's. He has a lot of work to do, I think, Kyler Murray, and I'm not sure that he's never quite shown that he is that kind of player who's going to dedicate his entire offseason and year to becoming the absolute best he needs to be. The raw talent's obviously there, but like I say, I'm just not sure he's that guy. He's good. I just don't think he's going to be great. And I think that's kind of what they need. Well, it's what any team needs to be really good, obviously. But yeah, Joe Bride, incredible season. Incredible way to end the season, finally gets his first touchdown. But yeah, the Rams are obviously the story of it. Again, a poor game. But
I do worry about the Rams. Yeah, I do worry about the Rams as well, because I think the last few weeks, Stafford's just not played well. And, this Cardinals team. What's that?
I was going to say, he has like a throw or two where you're like, it's still there. And then for the rest of the game, you're like, oh.
Like, they're 9%. Well, yeah, technically 10, but like 9 proper possessions, and 5 of them went like 3 or 4 plays and punted. And the Cardinals had it 3 times in like the Rams 10-yard line and didn't come away with anything. They obviously got a touchdown, but they also downs the interception at the end. So, the Cardinals could have easily have. It felt like the Cardinals kept getting it close to the Rams, getting a touchdown, and then they just couldn't. They got So I think the 4 times they got into the red zone on the 10-yard line, and they got 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, and then didn't do anything the other 2 times. So 2 other field goals there, and they've won this game. I just think, the NFC West has been very poor this year.
Yeah, I'm worried for the Rams for a while. I was kind of thinking they'll be a fun playoff team, but based on the last 2 weeks, maybe.
I was worried about Matthew Stafford. I think he maybe goes to the retirement home with Cooper Kupp this summer, or a revitalization home, because the 2 of them are kind of looking like they need a big long break and come back next year, hopefully revitalized, or just sail off into the sunset for Breakfast Club together.
I think maybe a rest next week would help as well. Kind of get them.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt, certainly.
Yeah. But yeah, Rams 10-6, winners of the NFC West. You had Jets Bills over 47, which hit 44-14. So I bet the under on this game when it was 12-0 at halftime, and even kind of partway through the third quarter, I think the Bills only had 19 points.
Yeah,
I was sat going, nailed this.
I was doing the opposite.
Yeah, I mean they went up 19-0 with 3 minutes 19 to go in the third quarter. I was like, right, this is done. I easily cashed this under. What the fuck happened the rest of the way?
5 minutes left in the third quarter. ESPN has it, but either way, I didn't think they'd then get another 14 points in the quarter. Yeah, I was saying at halftime, like, oh, this is dead. This is annoying. And he starts scouting Taco Bell locations. And then, yeah, the Bills collapse continued. I don't think we can shout out this game, though, without talking about the best moments from it. Essentially, everything Aaron Rodgers, who, what a fucking stinker. Absolutely beautiful. If he's not, taking safeties or throwing interceptions or hitting players out of bounds, I think the tight end was Kenny Yeboah, was it? That he just purely yeeted it at his ankles for, I don't know what reason. I don't know if he could have caught that if he knew where the ball was going, but, he could just floated it anywhere ahead of him into touchdown. And for once, I'm like, yeah, go on, game. I need an over here. Come on. And yeah, as Joe rightly points out, he has the most sacks ever in the NFL. Congratulations, Aaron Rodgers. You suck. And I mentioned EPA earlier for Drew Lock being the 6th greatest of all time since '99, certainly since it's been tracked. Minus 1.03 EPA per play for Aaron Rodgers yesterday. The worst game of his career.
This was one of the worst games all time I think, for a quarterback in terms of
yeah,
I can't remember. I saw the tweet.
Of them, and
yeah,
I think it's something like 2,700, and he was like 2,670.
Yeah,
and he's thrown up a bit next year because obviously there was whispers that are they going to keep him because he's played well the last few weeks and can he go well? So I'm just wondering if this kind of performance is the nail in the coffin with Rodgers and the Jets.
Well, the noise just started to come out that Garrett Wilson's asking for a trade if Rodgers is still there. Is that Rodgers is going to be the QB for next year? So yeah, there's a lot to sort out for the Jets, who are going to interview Ron Rivera for the head coach.
It doesn't get better. What are they doing?
And Ryan and Rex Ryan, they're going to interview as well. The game back, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
that was 2008.
Yeah, I think Rappaport or one of them.
In love with this.
Yeah, they're interviewing Rex Ryan for the head coaching job as well.
Oh, this is perfect. I was also going to say Aaron Rodgers had a 1.2 QBR. It's the lowest QBR game since a 0.8 in Week 4 of 2021. Any guesses of the worst quarterback of 2021? I'll give you a clue. It looks a bit like a giraffe.
Oh, Mike Glennon?
It's not, Mike Glennon's a better shout, actually. It's Davis Mills.
Oh, yeah. It still applies.
Yeah.
I'm glad you both went there, but yeah. No, Davis Mills had a 0.8 in Week 4 of 2021. Fuck knows what he did, but God, it injects all this Aaron Rodgers nonsense into my veins. It is absolutely perfect.
Davis Mills is more neck specific as well, so yeah, that's the right call.
Garrett Wilson, obviously I put it in our chat yesterday, but like on Instagram, T. Higgins' story of his domination on Saturday. Sauce Gardner puts a comment, paid a man. Someone replies, the time to come to the Jets, and he just replies, I will not be doing that. It's like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, I don't think somehow Ron Rivera coming into the building is going to change my mind. Or Rex Ryan. I absolutely love it. Sink the Jets. This is the funniest franchise in football. Bring Rodgers back, please.
Yeah. Just a note on the Bills. Obviously, they were able to pull people out. The Bills are in this game. Probably needed a bounce back. Obviously, the Patriots ran them close last week. Feels like they're going to sit people now. Week 18 rightly. But just this stat line, Mitch Trubisky, 1 completion from 1 attempt for 69 yards and a touchdown.
My man, Mitch.
158.3 rating.
Also, that pass was to Tyrell Shavers.
Yes.
Which sounds more like a porn star than a professional football player.
Yeah, absolutely.
We shaved my Tyrells.
Yeah, Bills 2nd seed, so they're going to be awaiting possibly the Broncos, Dolphins, or Bengals. We'll find out next week. Yeah, they would, the Dolphins. They'd love that. I think they'd be okay with the Broncos. They just do not want to see the Bengals, I don't think, as we discussed. Yeah, and then your underdog, which let you down, Byron, was Falcons +4, which we just talked about. So yeah, you're 30, 36-2, a game and a half behind Joe. Joe went 2-2 this week. He was on the under for Dolphins. Browns, it was under 40. It got to under 44 before kickoff, so with Tua being out. But yeah, comfortable under. You had the Cowboys as your underdog. Cowboys got whooped by the Eagles, 41-7. We even saw Tanner McKee.
Yeah, I accidentally put this in green because, like as Micah Parsons says, other than the scoreline, it was a close game. You know what I mean?
That's going to be one of the quotes of the season.
It was like they had 5 big players, but when it's like the third quarterback's just throwing on you, then Mike could just maybe just like keep quiet and just take this big defeat. It's It was the Cowboys, but obviously the interception touchdown didn't help start with, but then Cooper Rush was like playing well, like even in that first drive and then the second drive, I thought, this could be on, and then just pick it, just shocking afterwards. The Eagles defense got after them. Barkley over 150 yards.
Yeah, you cashed that, Joe. Well done.
Thank you very much. And even with their third quarterback, they were throwing on this Cowboys team when with Diggs being out. I think Devonta Smith a touchdown as well because he was again playing against the second quarterback who's not good enough to be a starting defensive back.
They just kept killing him every time.
Yeah. So and they were playing man. It felt like they just weren't. They thought let's actually try and hide him or play a bit of zone to actually help him out. But it's like no, let's play a man against again another top 5 second wide receiver in this league, and when they saw that, it was like let's give it to Devontae, and he was absolutely destroying him. So it was a poor game all around. I think Cowboys. I think the record is what it should be, and move on to next year. And I think Mike McCaffrey's still safe even after this terrible performance, just with everything going off and all the injuries and whatnot.
So that was my next question. I was going to ask 2 quick questions before we moved on because we've got other games to talk about. So first of all, McCaffrey going to stay? Joe, you think he is? Byron?
I said no. I don't really know.
Okay.
I said no.
Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the next Cowboys?
Depends who takes the Jets job. Either Ron or Rex.
Rob Ryan.
Rob Ryan. Oh, God.
No idea.
PTSD. Rob Ryan defenses. You also cashed your Devonta Smith anytime touchdown bet, Joe, as well. Plus 175. So well done on that. I was on the Cowboys plus 9.5. Terrible. You were on. You had Raiders Saints over 38. Oh, sorry. Other question: is Saquon going to get the record next week against the Giants of all teams?
I think no.
I think it's stupid if they don't.
I think they'll rest him.
Because
100 yards is a
Was it 100?
It's like 101 or something like that. It's just over 100.
117, so we've got 3 different numbers.
Yeah. I think it's just a bit too much. I think if it's around like 40, 50, they might give him 1/2, but he would have to play the full game. And if Barkley, do you risk
he's got 100 yards in a quarter many times, the first quarter many times this season.
But I just worry. I think they'll rest him. I think the Super Bowl's more important than him getting the record. And if he gets injured, like fucks his ankle up, and then Sirianni will get absolutely killed, like why are you playing him in a nothing game and blah blah blah. So they'll rest him.
Cool. All right.
And you're right. It's 101 yards short of breaking the record.
Cool. I don't know. I think we might see him in if he gets off to a good start.
That's what I think. Yeah. I think he'll get a quarter to make a good stand, and if he can get 70 yards in the first quarter, they'll have him in to get it. And if he gets 10 yards, then you shut down. That's how I think it'll go. I think that's how they should do it too, because records last forever. Who won the Super Bowl the year Eric Dickerson set that record?
Not the Rams. We did play for the Rams.
More importantly, we don't know.
Oh, right.
Whereas we do know who set the rushing record that season.
Yeah. I think to get so close now, I think you have the benefit of more games as well to get it. So
of course, yeah, but that's how the NFL is. It's still his record if he gets it.
Yeah, cool. Raiders Saints. You had over 38. 25.
This was on as well. I know this was on at halftime.
Yeah, the 23 at halftime, wasn't it? It was 13-10.
There's a few so many penalties. I was actually watching this game. I think I was the only person in Canada watching this game because it was a drab affair. It was just so many penalties from both teams where I think obviously the Raiders got the touchdown in the first, but he was out on the 1 yard line and could have run it in. And right at the end, I was just hoping for, even if the Saints got the field goal, it would have been a nice push. But and to make it easier for me and Byron to figure out how many games he's behind me. And they even got down to 2 yard line, but it was pass interference on offense, and he just couldn't stop throwing interceptions at the end. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm so frustrated because I bet 2 other games as well for the over, and both hit during the game. I know one was Byron's, but the other one I should have easily gone for. But hey ho, you live and learn.
Yeah, they had the trick play, didn't they, with Foster Moreau, which was nice. Foster Moreau spoke after the game, quite impassioned on playing all the way through to the end of the season and how maybe some fans were wanting him to lose, and he doesn't by that sort of stuff and all that jazz. And a quick shout out to the Saint City Me guys. So they were there again. Dan, for one of the guys from Saint City Me podcast, who's been a guest of ours, was in the Dome again, week 17 for what in essence a nothing game. You cannot question that man's dedication to go watching his team out in New Orleans. Guess they're spending New Year's there as well. Took his son, and it was his son's first time at the Superdome as well. So yeah, I hope you guys had a fantastic time. And yeah, Vegas just tumbling down the draft board, picking up wins. A couple of wins these last few weeks.
I love it. These bad teams can't even lose, right?
Yeah.
Brock
Bowers.
Brock, yeah, go on.
Yeah. No, I'll let you
do
do it, Joe. Go on.
Well, I think he obviously beat Mike Dicker's record for rookie tight end, and Puka Nacua must be good at that. He got that record. It lasted 2 years, and someone else already beaten him.
It didn't even last a full calendar. It didn't even last a full calendar.
Was it last year? Yeah. And it was a tight. And it was a tight end. Yeah, and it was a tight end who did it as well. Yeah. And he might not even be in the top 2 because Neighbours might beat him as well next week. So it's
Neighbours is coming, yeah.
So, but yeah, shout out number 1 tight end. It's gonna be fun to figure out who the All-Pro, Kittle, Bowers, McBride, who's gonna be 1, 2, and who's gonna be the one who misses out on an All-Pro.
Yeah,
tough one.
Yeah, obviously Titans bouncing back to a real slow start for the Titans this year, and then. Yeah, bounce back throughout. Byron as well, I just want you to shout out because if you'd have thought, if we'd have been sat here on the preview with the bets that you made going, Amir Abdullah's got 147 yards from scrimmage, and there'd be no way on earth you wouldn't have cashed your bet. You had Amir Abdullah 40 plus reception yards, and he had 32.
I think he had 32 in the first quarter. So I thought that was cashed. No problemo. Yeah, but turned out big problemo because he didn't get another catch. So, yeah. Shout out at Amir Abdullah, though. I think if I'd started him in my fantasy championship, which I was never going to do, ahead of Isaiah Pacheco or someone else who shit the bed, Caleb Williams, I would have won a fantasy championship yesterday as opposed to a nice second place finish. Also, if I'd started Marvin Mims or the tight end in that game, Mike Gesicki, who all went off on my bench. But realistically, you're not going to start him in the fantasy championship. It's just I'd nice to see Amir Abdullah getting some, love.
Fantasy championships aren't for everyone, Byron.
I've got 6 in our home league, right?
Well, nobody cares about history. Moving on to your favourite, Joe, you picked the Bengals, which we've covered. Bengals -3. I was on the over for me, so I'm 2-1 with a game, 2-1 with a game to go. I'm safe from the forfeit. So I was Bengals Broncos over. I was on the Panthers +7.5, who got absolutely killed. I picked Panthers +7.5 before I knew Chuba Hubbard wasn't going to be playing. That would have definitely changed my decision. Hence why I bet the Buccaneers -9 when it changed and that news broke. So yeah, happy for that at least. Huge game all around. So the spine of our fantasy game day team that did so well this week. But Baker, 5 passing touchdowns. Evans, 2 receiving touchdowns, 97 yards, and Bucky Irving, another big game on the ground and through the air. I think he was 190 yards from scrimmage. Just a big, big day for the Bucs. 48-14 winners over the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, and shout out the Bucs duck.
Oh yeah,
the pump block legend. Nice. Very, very fun little quirk of the game.
I had the Panthers in a bet as well. I thought they'd put a bit more of a fight, even without Chuba Hubbard. And how it started, I thought, this could be a fun, exciting game. The Panthers went down and replied, but the Bucs was just dominated this defense all around and sets them up well for next week because they struggled against the Panthers last year and early on. So
Bucs beat the Saints. They're in. They win the NFC South. Falcons need the Saints favor and Panthers win to.
How many more yards does Evans need?
I still think it might be
80-ish, okay.
It's 85, so 86 again. 85 gets to 1,000 on it. So I think he's going to be good for it.
And I think the Bucs probably got him good for it. I don't think Saints doing the Falcons a favor and hurting their draft capital is really in anybody's minds in New Orleans. I think they might be out on Bourbon Street on Saturday night.
Yeah, and Evans needs 5 catches and those 85 yards to get a $3 million bonus.
Okay, it sounds like you said to get an $83 million bonus.
No,
I'm sure you said
to get
$83 million.
$3 million bonus.
And I was like, I've obviously misheard something here because I think we'd have heard about that incentive earlier in the season. But I think you can write that check now if you are the Glazers. So
they do not like writing checks. Right,
they'll kick it off some Man United children's charity, so they'll be fine.
Each come out of whatever fee they get for Marcus Rashford, which is dwindling by the day. Adam Thielen had a decent game for the Panthers. That was about it. 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 110 yards.
Bryson looked okay.
Yeah, Bryson looked okay. They couldn't run the ball. It was a massive problem, wasn't it? So, and the nature of the game, it getting out of hand, they couldn't really run it as well. So, yeah. My favourite, Chargers -4. They killed the Pats. Pats got the number 1 overall pick as it stands at the minute. Drake May came out, didn't he? Which ruined, I think, one of whose bet was it that killed? Was it yours, Joe? You had both quarterbacks for over 1.5 passing TDs. So he came out, didn't he?
Yeah, he came back in and got a touchdown and played the rest of the game. But yeah, I was just pointing the Patriots for to do a bit more, and we put in the message. I'm not quite sure if does that coaching staff hang around, because obviously the reports came out that he's safe unless they have a disastrous end to the year, and that was a disaster of a game.
This was like the Chargers race last year.
Yeah,
100%. It's just like one team does not want to be here.
Yeah.
And I think the most worrying part, obviously, Drake May's looked good, and I think I'm curious how we're going to pick the top 3 when we do our redraft of last year. But you hired Mayo because the defense was good and to keep that going, and the defense it's dropped off massively since Belichick left and he's taken over. So, and that's supposed to be your calling card. That's why I always worry about defensive head coaches, because the defense has to be good to keep that job, and it's not being good. So I'll be curious. And with Kraft getting older and older, and you've got your quarterback now, do you then just think, let's restart this? But that roster is a bag of shit as well. So I don't blame him.
I think they'll trade out. I think if they have that number 1 pick, I think you can get get a few more picks from somebody like a Giants or whoever wants to have the choice of the quarterbacks to jump ahead of whoever's going to be at 2.
Yeah, this team beat the Bengals in week 1, like you mentioned earlier, which is just crazy that one of their wins was the Bengals with and Drake May wasn't even playing.
So they beat the Bengals, the Jets, and who was the other win?
Seahawks,
yeah.
Like, I know the Seahawks aren't going to be in the playoffs, unfortunately, but they might well be a 10-win team, and the Bengals a 9-win team probably, who aren't going to be in the playoffs as well. But like, them to be 2 of your only wins this season and like cost both them teams a playoff spot is wild and confusing. But 6 losses in a row now. A 7th next week against Buffalo backups and Mitchell Trubisky and old shave your balls. Like, I don't think it bodes well for
Patriots could win that game, couldn't they, and move from.
Well, it's hard because obviously long term a loss is more beneficial. But I don't know if Jared Mayo can take 7 losses to end the season and rousing of the team.
Yeah. But there is rumors that Drake May is gonna not play.
Okay, well, that maybe just played Jacoby Brissett,
just because of the injury last week, and
that makes sense, and that's an easy out, that isn't it? I guess, and then could Jacoby Brissett beat a Mitch Trubisky team? Probably.
Anything could happen. Any given Sunday with those 2 quarterbacks, right?
Yeah,
I hate how this 4-4's coming down to week 18, where
and
we do it so early as well. Like, you're not gonna have a clue.
What I like is just getting ahead of a fact. Joe has first pick, so all I need to do is whatever Joe picks, I'm going opposite on my second pick.
Okay.
I love it.
So, Joe goes favorite Bills, underdog Patriots.
Oh, I love this.
Over on the Steelers, under on the Broncos, Bengals. Like,
so if I go
first in every round,
so if I go Ravens against the Browns, you're going to be the DTR number 1 fan.
The thing about DTR is you can build an offense around him. He's got an arm. He's got legs. He's got 0 touchdowns on the season, so he's due.
I mean, it's a big old number that as well. We'll get to that anyway on the preview. We'll see what happens with them overall pick next week. And yeah, shout out to Dom, who went 3-1, one of our better guest performances of the year. He had the Dolphins as his favourite. Cardinals covered, even though they lost. Over in Commanders, Falcons, and under in Cowboys, Eagles, which didn't hit, but 3-1, not a bad effort.
I thought it was on when Pickett went out as well. I thought, okay, no more scores.
Yeah, but no, Tanner McKee just throwing dimes.
I was to shout out as well in that game, player of the year candidate from Kenny Pickett, sacking himself. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I still don't know what happened, but it looked incredible.
There was another one I was going to shout out that was going to make my Mount Rushmore, and I can't remember what it is now.
An actual good play or a...
It was a good one, and I can't remember what it is. They'll come back to me at some point. Anyway, that's the end of the fourth hole. We've got 1 week to go. Joe and Byron, Joe's got the advantage, 1.5 games up, trying not to go spend 24 hours in Taco Bell or A&W or wherever Joe said it was that he was going to spend. Yeah, Tim Hortons. Was that it, Joe? No? Or was it
I think A&W is probably...
Yeah.
But I was actually having a big discussion with Meg about which one to choose, and yeah,
you're in his head, Byron. You're in his head.
Yeah. I might look at all the menus to figure out, because A&W does it would just be burgers non-stop, and I don't know if that's the best strategic plan.
Interesting. Yeah, got to eat your way out of a well-known fast food chain. That'll be the highlight of our off-season content, by the way, just those clips and TikToks and videos that get posted of one of you trying not to be sick. Great stuff. ATS picks, because we've only got one game to actually talk about, but just a quick rifle through them. We talked about the Christmas games on our preview because of when they were. Seahawks, what was that the worst Thursday night football game?
I was just about to say, we may have seen the best game in, Bengals, Broncos, but the worst game could be that Seahawks Bears. And I had it on most of the day as well, just hope for Seahawks just to cover. And I know Byron did because it's his favourite two teams. Yeah, it was such a depressing game from both teams, and it was horrible.
Seahawks won by 3 to stay alive at the time, but sadly it turns out it wasn't enough. What we're on. Joe, you had the Cardinals who covered against the Rams, so you were the lone soldier on that one. Byron, you had the Bucks who hammered the Panthers. Where else was this? Been poor week. You two were on the Raiders. You two were on the Bills. Why did I take the Jets? I were on the Jags. That's the only game I haven't talked about. Jags won 20-13 in another just miserable game against the Tennessee Titans.
I don't know if you saw the stat about the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if it's for our ATS, but the ATS before the game, they've gone 2-14, which is the worst record of any team against a spread since whoever was tracking it. So yeah, 2-14 this year.
Lose. Absolute dog shit ones, never cover.
Don't cover, yeah. Our sister podcast starting next year.
The spin-off when you two get fed up for me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That
is an option. You can buy the intellectual property of good teams and great teams cover off me if you want.
Yeah, I don't want to get sued.
£12.50, I think it's worth currently. Brian Thomas, the only bright spot I think in this game. Finishing off a great season. Another touchdown. I need to shout this out. That's prompted me actually, and I'll get killed if I don't do it. So we do shout out. We obviously want to shout out all successful bets. We've missed a few, but a particularly successful bet, including Brian Thomas Jr., was hit. Jenny had a touchdown treble, 30-1 touchdown treble. Brian Thompson Jr., Thomas Jr., Jalen Tolbert, and I cannot remember who the third one is.
James Cook.
James Cook, thank you. Yeah, James Cook, Brian Thomas Jr. Jalen Tolbert was obviously what jumped the price up.
Good job someone listens to you, miss.
I know, I was just trying to remember who the third one was, and that was the one we'll wait because Brian Thomas and Cook hit like bang after each other.
Yeah.
On Red Zone when we're watching it, but yeah, 30-1. What a bet!
That's a great shot. Yeah, Tolbert, like you say, a real bumper in there. So.
Yeah, and that was his third game in a row with a touchdown catch for the Cowboys as well. So yeah, just shout.
I bet she was sweating when Cook did signal touchdown, but he just went out. Yeah, and then he scored straight away afterwards. I bet that was a relief when, especially getting all the backups that came in pretty early, so worked out.
Because we were like, Josh Allen's going to just run this in, isn't he? But yeah, no, Cook came in and finished it off, thankfully. So yeah, 30-1, incredible stuff. What a bet. And yeah, that's the Titans Jaguars review. For that one. Joe, you've sealed the ATS Picks competition. You're 12 up on Byron now after a strong 10-5 week in week 17. Me and Byron 7-8. Yeah, Byron, you're second. I very much doubt you're going to catch Joe in week 18. So well done, Joe. Last bit of business then, because we've no preview, TNF preview, because TNF is done. Winning Fantasy Game Day team. But before we get to the winning Fantasy Game team, we finally hit between us. I say this primarily Byron's work this week. A top prize. We were second in the OG Sunday Stars game. Still a solid 13 points behind. We were quite close, to be fair, until quite near the end. But yeah, solid effort from us. Well done, gentlemen. Finally getting there with Fantasy Game Day.
Good job, guys.
And Jaden Reed again, just killing us all year.
Yeah, Jaden Reed, we went for the wrong Packers wide receiver because we had MVS in and it was like, that didn't feel right. Let's change you out. Jaden Reed was the same price. That feels like good value. Didn't work, but it was Romeo Dobbs that we needed, really, wasn't it? Sadly. But yes, our team very similar to this one, though. So shout out Jordan Paul, who won the £7.50 OG Sunday Stars game with 201.46. Mike Evans is captain. Baker Mayfield with his 5 touchdowns, and Bucky Irving with his 190 yards from scrimmage that we've just mentioned. So very Bucks heavy. Ty J. Spears, who had a decent game without getting any touchdowns. Brian Thomas, who we've just waxed lyrical about. Calvin Ridley, who was a good shout. He had a decent, solid game. Michael Pittman, whose touchdown kind of took him over the edge. And Tucker Kraft just for a little 7. But yeah, this was real similar to our team. We were very close in terms of setup, really. 5 of the 8, we had the same. 4 of the 8.
Yeah, fair play to him. Yeah, I felt Ty J. Spears was like kind of a bit of a cheat code once Pollard was ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously went Evans, captain, Mayfield as well. Yeah, similar lineup, but yeah, fair play to them. Pushed it over the edge with, I guess, Ridley and Thomas was there.
Yeah, Ridley, Brian Thomas. Yeah.
I can't remember who we had in that place, but
so
yeah,
we had
well,
yeah
work to do next week.
Did we have Abdullah? Or because I know Byron suggested.
Nah, once we had because it's 44,000 as a salary, so it became less important to have the budget. I think Abdullah was 3,800, so we can upgrade and get JT in. I believe we probably went with.
Yeah, we had Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Jaden Reed, and Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I think Aaron Jones is probably the one that stings the most because
he came out as well, didn't he? With I think 3 drives he missed that where you think they would have probably rushed the ball a lot, but didn't. Yeah, and Jaden Reed just 1 reset. He had a couple of drops as well, which were.
And yeah, I'm not saying this. I was kind of gonna not harp on it, but like when we were talking about the Packers wide receivers earlier, like LaFleur does a really good job offensively, but like I don't think you'd see Shanahan use Jaden Reed like LaFleur does. Like I think you look at what certainly Debo's prime got, and I think that's what the blueprint should be for LaFleur and Jaden Reed. Like he's so influential. Wherever you get in the ball, he seems to do damage, and I just don't think they use him creatively enough. Obviously, we knew that going into it, so it's not like a bitter thing of like, well, why didn't you get more points? Like, it's a risky play with a player like Jaden Reed, who is low usage. But, man, you think if they could manufacture him touches more, I think there's such potential for a real dangerous, like, player every single week as opposed to this, like, who knows what you're going to get? Because he's so good. It's just not quite, I don't think, schemed correctly.
Fair enough. Well, that's the Week 17 winning Fantasy Game Day Sunday Stars lineup. Just a reminder, obviously there's 1 regular season game week left, but also plenty of games that will be coming from the Fantasy Game Day guys in the playoffs and through to the Super Bowl. Use promo code COVER and join the UK's best daily fantasy NFL platform. Use that promo code COVER. You'll receive a free play after your first entry. Please, 18 years and over only, UK only, and of course, please gamble responsibly. Right, chaps, that's us done for Week 17. We'll be back with our Week 18 preview that will drop on Friday. And we'll go through the final full slate of NFL football for the regular season, and then we're on to the playoffs. Good stuff. As always, please make sure you follow Good Teams and Great Teams Cover over on Spotify. You'll be notified of new episodes when they drop. Give us a follow on YouTube, Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at GTW_GTC. And until next time, thanks for watching and listening.